Hello, this is a tutorial on another formative assessment tool, a student response system called Go Soapbox. So you can access the account itself at gosoapbox.com, and once you launch it, you get this particular screen where you have the ability to sign up. All you need is a name and an email password. That will get you an account. The free account will allow you to have 30 students participating in an event at the same time. Should you have more than 30, you can still make that work for free by just duplicating the event, maybe an A and a group B, and then you give half your class the access code for the group A event, the other half of the class the access code for the group B event, and it will still work. So once you've gotten an account, then you would sign in. This is actually, signing in is exactly the same for both the student and the instructor. Basically, you're going to go to app.gosoapbox.com, and then you'll get a screen like this where you will get an access code that the instructor has to provide, and I'll show you that in a second, and then they would join. So in this particular case, I'm going to sign in. And hit sign in, and I'm going to pull up my account. Now, what the tool here, what it creates for you is what are called events. And again, it's a formative assessment audience response system. So you're going to find that if you've looked at things like Poll Everywhere, Socrative, this is another one. This kind of kicks both of those up a notch. Poll Everywhere is a great tool, but it only allows you to do one poll at a time. Socrative is a formative assessment quiz-making tool. You can have a number of different questions, all kinds of different aspects of questions, true and false, multiple choice, short answer. You can have images inside the questions and all that. And then you can get the report outs with an Excel spreadsheet to see how your students have done. This is actually a lot like Socrative, but I think it kind of takes it and kicks it up a notch. You have all those same abilities to do a lot of that, but there's some additional features that are actually built in, some more interactive features built in right into class that we'll show you in a moment. So this can be used in a flipped classroom environment, blended learning. Again, it's a formative assessment tool. Very creative and innovative types of uses I think you will be able to find for this, and a lot of the same features that you were able to use with some of those other things like Socrative and Poll Everywhere. You can stimulate some reflection, challenge the imagination, develop curiosity and a sense of inquiry, ways to push content, a way to get feedback on how well students are understanding that content before you move on to new material. So a lot of good tools. At this particular point, I have one in here already. I'm going to show you that briefly, then we're going to go through the process of actually building one. So I'm just going to click on it. And just to show you a little bit about what the screen can look like, all of the aspects of it are not turned on at this time, but there's some quizzes that you can have built in here. You can have some polls. So this part is like putting Socrative and Poll Everywhere together. You can also have some discussion. So there could be some discussion going on, ongoing, while you're in the middle of presenting your content, whether it's a lecture format or what have you. This is also another feature. This is called the barometer, and it allows students who are logged in to your event to just identify whether they're confused or not confused. You'll see how this works a little bit differently. These will change once I show you the student view of things. And you'll see how many students are online, how many of them are confused, and how many are not confused, that type of thing. And if I go down to moderate the event, this allows me to kind of launch things. I had mentioned an access code. You will automatically be given an access code once you create an event. You do have the ability to change the access code to something that's a little bit easier to remember. But if your students go to app.gosoapbox.com and then put this access code in, they are now into your online version of this particular event. So over here, I'm just in the general settings here. and I'm going to enable and disable the features. You can see that what's green here and listed as on is what we have turned on already. These were turned on by default, but I do have the ability to add some extra things. So I can actually turn on instant polling if I want to do that. I can turn on social Q&A. Social Q&A is kind of like Backchannel. So if you wanted to maybe be in the middle of presenting some content, let's say in a lecture format, and students would have the ability to just put a quick question out there that either you could, as you see that question pop up on your screen, you could pause and answer it, or fellow students in that class, if they had the answer to the question, rather than interrupting the flow of the lecture, they could go ahead and do that as well. So social Q&A is also known as back channeling. If any of these features are not going to be used, you can actually go ahead and turn them off. So if you weren't going to use instant polling, the difference between polls and instant polling is polls allows you to create a poll ahead of time, and I'll show you that in the feature. Instant polling allows you to create a poll on the spot. All you have to do is say that you're going to launch an instant poll, and you have to identify the number of potential choices or answers that you would allow available in the poll, but there is nothing that's printed on the screen really either for you or for your students regarding what the particular poll is about. This would be something that you would either have to write on the board or just say it audibly. So it's, okay guys, I wanted your opinion on this, and what do you think? And you might give them 3 or 4 different choices. That's what instant polling is. Quizzes are going to be just what you expect they are. You have the ability to do short answer and multiple choice, or really anytime you can do multiple choice, you can also do true and false. You just only have 2 answer choices. There's also a math formatting. So it will look for some kinds of math formatting features that are potentially in the question, as well as students being able to use that. So if you're going to ask some formative assessment questions that relate to some math where some formatting would be involved, you can turn this on. I do recommend, because it does kind of make the screen busy if you have everything on, is to actually eliminate some things. If you're not going to use them, you can turn them back off just by clicking on the on or off situation. You can toggle it to the opposite way. So I'm going to go back to the moderation panel here. I can change event details. This is where I was talking about if you get that 9-digit numerical access code for your students, that might be a little difficult to remember. You can come up with your own custom access code here and then provide that with your students. If you make any of those types of changes, you just hit save. Going back to the moderating panel, if I needed to do anything else there. Just wanted to show you a couple of other things. I can actually duplicate or copy an event and the content that it's in that event. I mentioned earlier the free account only gives you access for 30 students, but if you happen to have a class larger than that, you could actually duplicate the event, create a version A and a version B, and then just divide your students up appropriately. You also have the ability to export results. You can export polls, and you can export the back channeling, the social question and answer, and it will drop it off in an Excel spreadsheet for you. They're also talking about making quizzes, the response to the quizzes, exportable as well. But currently, right now, that's not available in the free version. So I'm going to go back to my event. And so I'm just going to actually come in and I can show you what the quiz looks like. I have some questions here. What temperature does water freeze? And it's a multiple choice question you can see here. Okay. And I'm going to cancel and go back. What is your favorite book? This is a short answer question, so it just basically gives the student a blank. I have the ability to add additional questions here. I can reorder the questions. Here's where I can download the current response data, so it looks like they do have it in here. So in this particular place, I can download the current response data to the quizzes. So I'm going to go back to my event. I can create a discussion area, can create that poll. What I'm going to want to do here is once I'm ready and the class is launched, notice that there's this little lock over here. Students, even though I give them access to that code, they're not going to be able to participate in this item. The reason it defaults to the locked is you may not want to have all of these things available as soon as your students access the class. You may want to periodically open something else up. So if I wanted to open this up, I just have to click on it. Notice it went from a lock to an unlocked lock. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Creating a quiz, relatively simple. You give it a name, create, and then I can add my question right here. I can type the name of the question in. I can put a descriptor in. I can also put an image in if I feel like that I want to ask a question about a particular image. And again, my question types are multiple choice, which again can be made true and false, and then short answer, which just gives a blank space. I do want to point out, if you're going to use an image, what you need is the URL that ends in a JPEG. It has to be .jpg or JPEG. It has to be a JPEG file in order to pop up, or it will not open from the student's point of view. And I can cancel and go back. Go back to the event. Polls the same way. Create a poll. I give it a question, and then I can have multiple choices down here, and then I can decide that I would like the results displayed either in a pie chart or a bar chart, and I can have it set so that students cannot see results until I would like them to, or that results are visible to students, so kind of an ongoing, it's kind of a live setting, so it will happen along the way. And I'm going to go back, and then there's discussion. I can create a discussion area, the same type of thing. I could identify whether the replies are visible or whether they can't see. This is the back channeling. I can ask a question and drop that information in here. And anybody who is registered in this particular event can also do the same thing. All right, so that's what things look like from the faculty side. Let's show you how things look like from the student side. Okay, so here we have the student side. Again, app.gosoapbox.com will get you to this screen. And then all we have to do now is put in that access code that our instructor provided us, either the access code that was auto-created, or if the instructor created their own custom access code, they would be able to do that. Now, I've just copied and pasted this just so you know. The dashes are not required. And we're going to say join now. Okay, so the student would then have these items on the screen here. Actually, I have to go back because this is not the student screen. This is the instructor screen again, so give me a second. Okay, sorry about that. I did not log out, so it still had me listed in as the instructor. So in the student view, again, the app.gosoapbox.com, put the access code in there and say join now. And so now I have to put my name in. Now the default is that the student has to put their name in. They can put in their first name, they can put their first and last, they can put in just their last, they really can type anything they want. You also, in the setup area of the event, you have the ability to determine whether or not you want it to be anonymous or whether or not they need to put in their name. So I'm just going to put in a name and say save. And the event is loading. Now notice all of those different types of things that I could have in the event, they're not all turned on. And the student view right now is kind of showing what's going to be on the student's machine. Now the students can participate in an event on a smartphone, on any type of tablet, or on a laptop. It doesn't matter what they're using. Everything works exactly the same way. So the default here, remember this is that confusion barometer, is I am getting it. So if you're in the middle of a lecture, students can regularly decide whether or not they're getting it or that they're confused. And so obviously if you have this open on your instructor station, you can kind of see what the results are here, because these results will be reported to you. You get access to this information on your desktop. And if you're starting to get a lot of I am confused, if you got 25 people in the class and you got 20 I am confused, it might be kind of a heads up to you to actually take a pause and see what you need to do about that. So the student will have the ability to do that, and then they will go into the quiz. Start this quiz. It says that there are 3 questions. At what temperature does water freeze? So I select an answer, hit submit. Which is not considered a primary color? Oh, I don't know that one. Let's go that way. And then what is your favorite book? I'm a Tom Clancy fan. Okay, so I have that, and I've submitted that one. So I'm done. Submit my answers. And then I get instantaneous results here. So I know what it is. Your answer was yellow, but the correct answer was green. And this particular one, since it was an open-ended question, it was not graded. Now understand that because these were auto-graded, and you can see that here from the green being correct, the red being incorrect, the check, and the X, when you create your questions, whether it's true and false or multiple choice, you do have to go down below all of the question answer options and select what the correct answer is from the list of answers that you've provided. If you don't do that, it won't auto score it for you for your formative assessment. And again, anything that's a short answer is not going to grade, because that's something that you have to manually look at. Okay, so that's it. That's from the student point of view. So another formative assessment tool with some other features, kind of builds in a little social platform as well too. With the Backchannel Q&A, you can actually have kind of an ongoing discussion going with that discussion area. So hopefully there's a couple of features here that those of you that have tried Socrative and or Poll Everywhere, this might be something that kicks it up a notch for you and your students.